Okay, sweet. So we're live on YouTube, still recording on Zoom. Perfect. And on Facebook. Okay, cool. So we're live in three areas. So another thing, if you guys do want to catch the recording, I highly suggest going on YouTube. It's actually a lot easier than rewatching it on Facebook because you can exit out of the app. Just a suggestion that I have to say, I don't get paid for this sponsorship, but YouTube Premium has been the best thing I've ever purchased in my life. It allows you to exit out of the YouTube app and you can finesse it and get it half off by saying you're a student. So I highly suggest you get YouTube Premium. And then if you want to watch the recording, go to the YouTube. My YouTube is just Michael Music. So that's just a little piece of advice I have for you. And then also, I got the Facebook groups. So Think and Grow Rich with Michael Music. A lot of plugins, but they need to be said. Okay, the miracle that has provided these blessings. We often hear politicians proclaiming the freedom of America where they solicit votes, but seldom do they take the time or devote sufficient effort to the analysis of source or nature of this freedom. Having no axe to grind, no grudges to express, no ulterior motives to be carried out, I have the privilege of going into a frank analysis of that mysterious, abstract, greatly misunderstood something which gives every citizen of America more blessings, more opportunities to accumulate wealth, more freedom of every nature than may be found in any other country. I have the right to analyze the source and nature of this unseen power because I know and have known for more than a quarter of a century many of the men who organized that power and many who are now responsible for its maintenance. The name of this mysterious benefactor of mankind is capital. Capital consists not alone of money, but more particularly of highly organized, intelligent groups of men who plan ways and means of using money efficiently for the good of the public and profitably to themselves. These groups consist of scientists, educators, chemists, inventors, business analysts, publicity men, transportation experts, accountants, lawyers, doctors, and both men and women who have highly specialized knowledge in all fields of industry and business. They pioneer, experiment, and blaze trails in new fields of endeavor. They support colleges, hospitals, public schools, build good roads, publish newspapers, pay most of the cost of government, and take care of the multitudinous detail essential to human progress. Stated briefly, the capitalists are the brains of civilization because they supplied the entire fabric of which all education, enlightenment, and human progress consists. Money without brains always is dangerous. Properly used, essential it is the most important essential of civilization. The simple breakfast here described could not have been delivered to the New York City family at a dime each or at any other price. If organized capital had not provided the machinery, the ships, the railroads, and the huge armies of trained men to operate them, some slight idea of the importance of organized capital may be had by trying to imagine yourself burdened with the responsibility of collecting, without the aid of capital, and delivering to the New York City family the simple breakfast described. To supply the tea, you would have to make a trip to China or India, both a very long way from America. Unless you are an excellent swimmer, you would become rather tired before making the round trip. Then, two, another problem would confront you. What would you use for money, even if you had the physical endurance to swim the ocean? To supply the sugar, you would have to take another long swim to Cuba or a long walk to the sugar beet section of Utah. But even then, you may come back without the sugar because organized effort and money are necessary to produce sugar, and say nothing of what is required to refine, transport, and deliver it to the breakfast table anywhere in the United States. The eggs you could deliver easily enough through the barnyards near New York City, but you would have a very long walk to Florida and return before you could serve the 2 glasses of grapefruit juice. You would have another long walk to Kansas or one of the other wheat growing states where you went after the 4 slices of wheat bread. The rippled wheat biscuits would have been omitted from the menu because they would not be available except through the labor of a trained organization of men and suitable machinery, all of which call for capital. While resting, you could take off another little swim down to South America, where you would pick up a couple of bananas, and on your return, you could take a short walk to the nearest farm, having a dairy, and pick up some butter and cream. Then, your New York City family would be ready to sit down and enjoy breakfast, and you could collect your 2 dimes for your labor. Seems absurd, doesn't it? Well, the procedure described would be the only possible way these simple items of food could be delivered to the heart of New York City. And if we had no capitalistic system, the sum of money required for the building and maintenance of the railroads and steamships used in the delivery of that simple breakfast is so huge that it staggers one's imagination. It runs into hundreds of millions of dollars, not to mention the armies of trained employees required to man the ships and trains. But transportation is only a part of the requirements of modern civilization in capitalistic America. Before there can be anything to haul, something must be grown from the ground or manufactured and prepared for market. This calls for more millions of dollars for equipment, machinery, boxes, marketing, and for the wages of millions of men and women. Steam Steamships and railroads do not spring up from the earth and function automatically. They come in response to the call of civilization through the labor and ingenuity and organizing ability of men who have imagination, faith, enthusiasm, decision, persistence. These men are known as capitalists. They are motivated by the desire to build, construct, achieve, render useful service, earn profits, and accumulate riches. And because they render service without which there would be no civilization, they put themselves in the way of great riches. Just to keep the record simple and understandable, I will add that these capitalists are the self same men of whom most of us have heard soapbox orators speak. They are the same men to whom radicals, racketeers, dishonest politicians, and grafting labor leaders refer to as the predatory interest or Wall Street. I'm not attempting to present a brief for or against any group of men or any system of economics. I am not attempting to condemn collective bargaining where I refer to graft and labor leaders, nor do I aim to give a clean bill of health to all individuals known as capitalists. The purpose of this book, a purpose to which I have faithfully devoted over a quarter of a century, is to present to all who want the knowledge the most dependable philosophy through which individuals may accumulate riches in whatever amounts they desire. I have here analyzed the economic advantages of the capitalistic system for the twofold purpose of showing: one, that all who seek riches must recognize and adapt themselves to the system that controls all approaches to fortunes, large or small, and two, to present the side of the picture opposite to that being shown by politicians and demo- demagogues, I don't know that word, who deliberately becloud the issues they bring up by referring to organized capital as if it was something poisonous. This is a capitalistic country. It was developed through the use of capital, and we who claim the right to partake of the blessings of freedom and opportunity, we who seek to accumulate riches here, may as well know that neither riches nor opportunity would be available to us if organized capital had not provided these benefits. For more than 20 years, it has been somewhat popular and growing pastime for radicals, self seeking politicians, racketeers, crooked labor leaders, and on occasion, religious leaders to take pot shots at Wall Street, the money changers, and big business. The practice became so general that we witnessed during the business depression the unbelievable sight of high government officials lining up with the cheap politicians and labor leaders with the openly avowed purpose of throttling the system which has made industrial America the greatest country on earth. The lineup was so general and so well organized that it prolonged the worst depression America has ever known. It cost millions of men their jobs because those jobs were inseparably a part of the industrial and capitalistic system which formed the very backbone of the nation. During this unusual alliance of government officials and self seeking individuals who were endeavoring to profit by declaring open season on the American system of industry, a certain type of labor leader joined forces with the politicians and offered to deliver voters in return for legislation designed to permit men to take riches away from an industry by organized force of numbers instead of the better method of giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. Millions of men and women through the nation are still engaged in this popular pastime of trying to get without giving. Some of them are lined up with labor unions where they demand shorter hours and more pay. Others do not take the trouble to work at all. They demand government relief and are getting it. Okay, so I know it is 10:30 right now. 6 more pages. Okay, I'm just going to shred through these 6 pages because I really want to start tomorrow on decision. And then once I'm done these 6 pages, I want to do a quick question. 2 questions is what'd you learn and what'd you like from this reading? Because I want you to really be thinking about what you want to get from this book. Okay. We're on page 192. It ends on page 198. Their idea of their rights of freedom was demonstrated in New York City, where violent complaint was registered with the postmaster by a group of relief beneficiaries because the postmen awakened them at 7:30 a.m. to deliver government relief checks. They demanded that the time of delivery be set up to 10 o'clock. If you are one of those who believe that riches can be accumulated by the mere act of men who organize themselves into groups and demand more pay for less service, if you are one of those who demand government relief without early morning disturbance when the money is delivered to you, if you are one of those who believe in trading their votes to politicians in return for passing of laws which permit the raiding of the public treasury, you may rest securely on your belief with certain knowledge that no one will disturb you because this is a free country where every man may think as he pleases, where nearly everybody can live with but little effort, where many may live well without doing any work whatsoever. However, you should know the full truth concerning this freedom of which so many people boast and so few understand. As great as it is, as far as it reaches, as many privileges as it provides, it does not and cannot bring riches without effort. There is but one dependable method of accumulating and legally holding riches, and that is by rendering useful service. I'm going to repeat that because that line's pretty important. There is but one dependable method of accumulating and legally holding riches, and that is by rendering useful service. No system has ever been created by which men can legally acquire riches through mere force of numbers or without giving in return an equivalent value of one form or another. There is a principle known as the law of economics. This is more than a theory, it is a law no man can beat. Mark well the name of the principle and remember it, because it is far more powerful than all the politicians and political machines. It is above and beyond the control of the labor unions. It cannot be swayed, nor influenced, nor bribed by racketeers or self-appointed leaders in any calling. Moreover, it has an all-seeing eye and a perfect system of bookkeeping in which it keeps an accurate account of the transactions of every human being engaged in the business of trying to get without giving. Sooner or later, its auditors come around, look over the records of individuals, both great and small, and demand an accounting, Wall Street, big business, capital predatory interest, or whatever name you choose to give this system, which has given us American freedom, represents a group of men who understand, respect, and adapt themselves to this powerful law of economics. Their financial continuation depends upon their respecting the law. Most people living in America, like this country, its capitalistic system and all, I must confess, I know of no better country where one may find greater opportunities to accumulate riches. Judging by their acts and deeds, there are some in this country who do not like it. That, of course, is their privilege. If they do not like this country, its capitalistic system, and its boundless opportunities, they have the privilege of clearing out. Always, there are other countries such as Germany, Russia, and Italy where one may try one's hand at enjoying freedom and accumulating riches, providing one is not too particular. America provides all the freedom and all the opportunity to accumulate riches that any honest person may require. One goes hunting for game, one selects hunting grounds where game is plentiful. When seeking riches, the same rule would naturally obtain. If it is riches you are seeking, do not overlook the possibilities of a country whose citizens are so rich that women alone spend over $200 million annually for lipsticks, rogue, and cosmetics. Think twice who you are seeking riches before trying to destroy the capitalistic system of a country whose citizens spend over $50 million a year for greeting cards with which to express their appreciation of their freedom. If it is money you are seeking, consider carefully a country that spends hundreds of $1 millions annually for cigarettes, the bulk of the income from which goes to only four major companies engaged in supplying this national builder of nonchalance and quiet nerves. By all means, give plenty of consideration to a country whose people spend annually more than $15 million for the privilege of seeing moving pictures and toss in a few additional millions for liquor, narcotics, and other less potent soft drinks and giggle waters. Do not be in too big a hurry to get away from a country whose people willingly, even eagerly, hand over millions of dollars annually for football, baseball, and prize fights. And by means, stick to a country whose inhabitants give up more than $1 million a year for chewing gum and another million for safety razor blades. Remember also that this is but the beginning of the available sources for the accumulation of wealth. Only a few of the luxuries and non essentials have been mentioned. But remember that the business of producing, transporting, and marketing these few items of merchandise gives regular employment to many millions of men and women who receive for their service many millions of dollars monthly and spend it freely for both the luxuries and the necessities. Especially remember that the back of all this exchange of merchandise and personal service may be found an abundance of opportunity to accumulate riches. Here, our American freedom comes to one's aid. There is nothing to stop you or anyone from engaging in any portion of the effort necessary to carry on these businesses. If one has superior talent, training, experience, one may accumulate riches in large amounts. Those not so fortunate may accumulate smaller amounts. Anyone may earn a living in return for a very nominal amount of labor. So there you are. Opportunity has spread its wares before you. Step up to the front and select what you want. Create your plan, put the plan into action, and follow through with persistence. Okay, three more pages. So we'll get through this. Capitalistic America will do the rest. You can depend upon this much. Capitalistic America ensures every person the opportunity to render useful service and to collect riches in proportion to the value of the service. The system denies no one this right, but it does not and cannot promise something for nothing because the system itself is irrevocably controlled by the law of economics, which neither recognizes nor tolerates for long getting without giving. The law of economics was passed by nature. There is no Supreme Court to which violators of this law may appeal. The law hands out both penalties for its violation and appropriate rewards for its observance without interference or the possibility of interference by any human being. The law cannot be repealed. It is as fixed as the stars in the heavens and subject to and a part of the same system that controls the stars. May one refuse to adapt oneself to the law of economics? Certainly. This is a free country where all men are born with equal rights, including the privilege of ignoring the law of economics. What happens then? Well, Nothing happens until large numbers of men join forces for the avowed purpose of ignoring the law and taking what they want by force. Then comes the dictator with well organized firing squads and machine guns. We have not yet reached that stage in America, but we have heard all we want to know about how the system works. Perhaps we shall be fortunate enough not to demand personal knowledge of so gruesome a reality. Doubtless, we shall prefer to continue with our freedoms of speech, freedom of deed, and freedom to render useful service in return for riches. The practice by government officials of extending to men and women the privilege of raiding the public treasury in return for votes sometimes results in election. But as night follows day, the final payoff comes when every penny wrongfully used must be repaid with compound interest on compound interest. If those who make the grab are not forced to repay, the burden falls on their children and their children's children, even unto the third and fourth generations. There is no way to avoid the debt. Men can, and sometimes do, form themselves into groups for the purpose of crowding wages up and working hours down. There is a point beyond which they cannot go. It is the point at which the law of economics steps in, and the sheriff gets both the employer and the employees. For 6 years, from 1929 to 1935, the people of America, both rich and poor, barely missed seeing the old man economics hand over to the sheriff all the businesses and industries and banks. It was not a petty sight. It was not a pretty sight. It did not increase our respect for mob psychology, though, which men cast reason to the winds and start trying to get without giving. We who went through those 6 discouraging years when fear was in the saddle and faith was on the ground cannot forget how ruthlessly the law of economics exacted its toll from both rich and poor, weak and strong, old and young. We shall not wish to go through another such experience. These observations are not found upon short time experience. They are the result of 25 years of careful analysis of the methods of both the most successful and the most unsuccessful men America has ever known. All right. So that was the end of chapter 7, Organized Planning from Think and Grow Rich. Overall, that was a lot of stories about America being capitalist. Um, what I liked from that, so I like how Napoleon Hill really puts how important capitalism is in the fact that we are a part of a country that lets us like everyone here has the opportunity of getting rich. You just have to render useful service. So he really dove deep into capitalism there. um Overall though, I guess I would ask you guys, what'd you learn and what'd you like from this chapter? It was a big chapter. This was like 65 pages. um Okay. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna plug in a few things. So right now I'm streaming on YouTube Live. So if you want to check out the recording, check out my YouTube. It's Michael Music. And I also started a Facebook group called Think and Grow Rich with Michael Music. If you want to search that up on Facebook, that's where you can find my group. Once I get through this book, I'll be reading it through that Facebook group. I just wanted to kind of get it out there. Um, with that being said, a lot of the questions I liked in what page was it? On the decision. When we started the book, I think it was like 177. Okay, so there's like self-analysis questionnaire for personal industry inventory. These questions were powerful. They may not have been as impactful when you're just listening to me say them out loud, but something I want to do is go over these 28 questions again. I never read them out loud to like a live audience, so that's very interesting. But yeah, my goal with this reading is to get a group of people that heard of Think and Grow Rich want to hear more of Think and Grow Rich and really want to study this. So I'm not sure if you guys know the story of Bob Proctor, but he read this book for 60 years and he essentially devoted his life to teaching the principle. These chapters spoke to him or taught him. And now that's my goal. I'm basically locked into this book. I have studied it over and over and over again. And my mentor, Sean G. Murphy, told me that the best way to learn something is to teach it. So I didn't necessarily have the courage to teach this book. I wanted to actually have an open discussion about it because I think that I can learn a lot from you guys that are actually watching it yourselves. Say you read this book and say you actually acquired Serious Riches. I'd love to learn from you guys what you thought about this book. And yeah, so hey, Miss Markey, I was reading Think and Grow Rich, and I just finished up chapter 7. And tomorrow I will be reading the chapter on decision from this book because a lot of people say that chapter 8 on decision was the most impactful chapter for them. And I can understand why. So that's going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Yeah, feel free to watch the recording. You can find it on YouTube. Just search up Michael Music. And thank you guys for hopping on this live. That was that. So I will see you guys. What's tomorrow? Friday? Yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow, Friday at 10 a.m. All right. Bye. Oh, shoot. Forgot I'm still streaming.